I knew something was off the second I saw those two waddling up my driveway like they owned the place, matching leopard print cardigans, purses clutched like they were the gatekeepers of heaven itself. One of them, the taller one with a clipboard, pulled out a key and tried to jam it into my gate like it was her damn backyard. When it didn't work, and of course it didn't, she let out this frustrated grunt and snapped at me through the iron bars, "This gate is supposed to open. We have authority from the HOA." I didn't know whether to laugh or call animal control. Instead, I just said, "Lady, that's not your gate. And that's not your key. Thing is, I don't live in the HOA anymore. My land sits just outside the line after the county redrew zoning boundaries 2 years back. I got the exemption in writing, sealed and recorded. But you know how these Karen types are, they can't stand not having control, especially over someone who won't play by their little pretend rules. And when that key didn't work, she didn't even pause. She went straight to threat mode. "We're calling the police. This is obstruction of community access." Her sister, the shorter one, with a face like a sour lemon, started recording me, yelling that I was detaining volunteers on official HOA duty. I was standing on my porch with coffee in one hand and a dog biscuit in the other, for Pete's sake. I figured I'd let it play out, just to see how deep they were willing to dig their own hole. A few minutes later, sure enough, I saw flashing lights coming up the hill. Sheriff's Department. I walked calmly to the gate, waved, and smiled like I was welcoming old friends. The officer stepped out, and before he could even say a word, the taller Karen was already throwing accusations like confetti. He locked us out of the shared entrance. We're HOA board members. We have jurisdiction over this property. She actually pulled out a folded piece of paper like it was some kind of warrant. The officer glanced at it, then looked over at me, eyes already tired. "Sir," he asked, "what's going on here?" I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. I just pulled out my phone, tapped a contact, and said, "I think it'd be easier if your boss explained." Then I handed the phone to the deputy. Took maybe 30 seconds. He nodded, muttered a quick, "Yes, sir," and handed it back to me with a whole new tone. "You're good here. Sorry for the trouble." The Karens? Their faces twisted up like someone just cancelled bingo night. "Who was that?" she barked. I smiled. "County Commissioner. He's the one who signed off on pulling my property out of your HOA, and I added, maybe with a bit too much satisfaction, told me to call him directly if you folks showed up again." That was the turning point. The cop turned to them and asked if they had any legal claim to the property. They fumbled, mumbled, and finally said something about verbal easements and historical jurisdiction. It was clear they had nothing. But here's where it gets juicy. A neighbor, old man Jim, who lives 2 houses down, had been watching from his lawn the whole time. He comes strolling over with his usual smirk and a cooler of Coors Light. "These two again," he chuckled. "Tried to tow my truck last year from my driveway. Said it looked abandoned. It's a '72 Chevy, I drive it every day." Another neighbor joined. Then another. Turns out, these sisters had been terrorizing half the cul-de-sac fines for flowers being the wrong shade of red, measuring grass height with rulers, peeking into backyards with drones, real freaky stuff. So now we had ourselves a little crowd. The officer, seeing the tide turning, decided to do something rare. He called his supervisor. More uniforms showed up. One of the Karens tried to slip away, but her car was parked across my driveway illegally. The cop didn't miss that. "Ma'am, step over here. We need to talk." And boom, within 15 minutes, she was being written up for trespassing, misuse of authority, and obstruction. Her sister. She doubled down, tried to scream discrimination. That's when one of the deputies pulled up her record. Turns out she'd been fined last year for impersonating a municipal official in another neighborhood. It was like watching a poorly directed soap opera, only better, because it was real. Now the HOA board's in chaos. Folks started pulling out, refusing to pay dues, demanding audits. Turns out the sisters had been voting themselves stipends, paying consulting fees to a company registered in their nephew's name. The whole thing stank. County launched an investigation, and just last week, I heard they were removed from the board entirely. Not just that, banned from holding office in any HOA within the county for 5 years. And the kicker? Their key, that stupid little key, was actually meant for the old maintenance shed down by the retention pond. Not my gate. Not even close. Last I saw of them, they were loading up their SUV, faces tight, muttering about ungrateful neighbors and losing control of the community. They didn't wave goodbye. No one came to help them pack. And as their SUV rolled down the hill, I swear I heard someone from the porch across the street call out, "Don't forget your clipboard." Whole street laughed. So yeah, turns out, sometimes, all you need to win is a phone call and the truth. But it does make you wonder how much community power is too much before it turns into tyranny in a cardigan.